In 1840, the forests of New Zealand were vast, untouched, and ancient. The towering kauri and rimu trees had stood for millennia, some predating the rise and fall of empires like Rome and the creation of the Great Wall of China. These trees, which had watched history unfold from their secluded corner of the world, were about to become the foundation of an industry that would transform both the landscape and the nation's economy. Their immense size and age made them prized resources, soon to be harvested for a rapidly industrializing world. This vast green expanse would soon become the foundation of one of the country's most defining industries. Nearly 2/3 of New Zealand was cloaked in forest, providing abundant timber for settlers. Early European loggers felled trees with axes and saws, then pit-sawed logs into timbers on site, or dragged whole logs out by brute force. The most common method of hauling in the mid-19th century was the bullock team, typically 12 to 20 oxen yoked together, slogging slowly through the mud and bush to skid large logs to rivers or mills. Teams of bullocks could move huge kauri or rimu logs that would be impossible for a single pair of horses. On easier terrain, heavy draft horses were also used, but bullocks were prized for their strength and sure-footedness in boggy, rough country. To assist with manoeuvring logs, bushmen developed the timberjack, a New Zealand adaptation of the screwjack that could lift or roll logs during loading. This simple innovation gave workers leverage to move massive trunks, an example of Kiwi ingenuity in early forest technology. As New Zealand's logging industry expanded, the challenge of moving timber from remote forests to markets became a major logistical hurdle. Many of the largest kauri trees were located in rugged and inaccessible terrain, where traditional land transport was impractical. One innovative solution was kauri log rafting. Logs were lashed together and floated down rivers or along coastal routes to sawmills and export ports. This method was particularly common in the northern regions of New Zealand, where waterways provided a natural highway for timber transport. Another unique transport method was the kauri driving dam. Loggers built wooden dams on narrow streams, allowing water to accumulate over time. When the dam gates were released, a surge of water carried logs downstream in a controlled flood, dramatically increasing efficiency. These driving dams, borrowed from North American practices, were a defining feature of New Zealand's logging industry by the late 19th century. However, they also caused severe environmental damage, scouring riverbeds and depleting local fish stocks. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, coastal shipping became a crucial element in the timber supply chain. Specifically designed schooners and scows were used to transport logs and sawn timber to domestic markets and international buyers. Ports such as Auckland, Wellington and Lyttelton became bustling timber export hubs, shipping vast quantities of native timber to Australia and beyond. The transition from manual labour to mechanised technology revolutionised New Zealand's forestry industry. The steam log hauler, introduced in the early 20th century, replaced traditional bullock teams by using cables and winches to haul massive logs across steep and uneven terrain. These machines drastically increased productivity and reduced the need for animal labour. Other innovations included aerial cableways, which transported logs from remote forest using suspended cables. This method, inspired by mining technology, was used in particularly rugged areas where tramways were impractical. Additionally, early petrol-powered saws began appearing in the 1910s, marking the first steps towards mechanised tree felling, though they would not become widespread until later in the century. New Zealand's engineers also developed adaptations of existing technologies to better suit local conditions. Bush tramways evolved from basic wooden rails to more advanced metal tracks, allowing heavier loads to be transported more efficiently. Portable sawmills enabled small operators to move their equipment closer to logging sites, reducing transport costs. The logging industry had profound effects on both New Zealand society and the environment. Deforestation was widespread, with large swathes of native forest cleared to meet the demand for timber. By the early 20th century, concerns over the depletion of kauri and rimu forests led to the first government efforts at forest conservation. The establishment of the State Forest Service in 1990 marked the beginning of a more regulated approach to forestry, including the planting of exotic tree species such as Pinus radiata for sustainable timber production. For workers, the industry was grueling and dangerous. Bushmen and sawmill labourers endured harsh conditions, long hours, and a high risk of injury. Many logging camps were isolated with only basic accommodations. Despite these hardships, logging communities developed a strong sense of camaraderie, and stories of legendary loggers and bullock drivers became part of New Zealand's folklore. The period from 1840 to 1920 was one of rapid transformation for New Zealand's forestry industry. From bullock teams and pit saws to steam-powered mills and innovative transport methods, logging became increasingly mechanised and large-scale enterprise. However, the unchecked exploitation of native forests also led to early environmental concerns and the first step towards sustainable forestry management. New Zealand's timber industry laid the groundwork for modern forestry practices while leaving behind a legacy of engineering ingenuity, hard labour, and remarkable stories of life in the bush. Today, the remnants of old logging tramways, sawmill ruins, and protected kauri forests serve as reminders of this pivotal era in the nation's history.